Let's be honest. You care what people think of you. We all do. Whether it's the stranger's glance on the street, a friend's comment that lingers too long in your head, or the invisible judgment you feel online, you care. You care about how you look, how you sound, what people might say when you're not around. But what if I told you that this invisible prison, the fear of other people's opinions, is one of the greatest barriers between you and your true potential? That the moment you stop living for approval, you start living for truth. This is how to stop caring about what others think. Most people live their entire lives inside an invisible cage, built not of steel, but of opinions. From childhood, you were trained to seek approval. You were praised when you pleased others, corrected when you stood out. Slowly, your brain learned a dangerous equation. Approval equals safety. Disapproval equals danger. And so, you began to perform. You dressed to fit in. You spoke to sound acceptable. You lived to avoid rejection. But here's the cruel truth. The more you try to please others, the more you lose yourself. You become a mirror, reflecting what everyone wants to see and forgetting who you actually are. It's a slow death of authenticity. As the philosopher Lao Tzu once wrote, "Care about what other people think, and you will always be their prisoner." To break free, we must first understand why we care so much. The desire for acceptance isn't weakness, it's survival. In ancient times, being excluded from the tribe meant death. You needed to belong. And that instinct never left. Even now, your brain releases dopamine when someone approves of you, and cortisol when they don't. You were biologically wired to seek validation. But here's the twist. That same instinct that once kept us alive now keeps us trapped. Today, rejection isn't fatal, it's just uncomfortable. Yet your mind still reacts as if it's life or death. That's why a single negative comment can haunt you for days, even when you receive dozens of compliments. It's not your fault, it's your biology. But the power to overcome it, that's a choice. Now, here's the irony. While you're busy worrying about what others think of you, they're too busy worrying about themselves. Everyone's trapped in the same loop, projecting confidence while silently seeking validation. The truth is, people rarely think about you as much as you imagine. They're preoccupied with their own insecurities, their own image, their own fears. And yet, we build entire lives around what we think they might be thinking. It's an illusion, a social mirage. And once you see it for what it is, you begin to reclaim your freedom. The ego loves approval because it feeds its identity. Every compliment, every like, every nod of agreement, it whispers, "See, you matter." But when that approval disappears, the ego panics. It questions your worth. And so you start performing again, not out of joy, but fear. This is why spiritual teachers like Eckhart Tolle warn that the ego's entire existence depends on other people's opinions. It cannot survive in solitude. But your true self, your deeper consciousness, needs nothing. It doesn't care about praise or blame. It simply is. When you learn to observe your thoughts instead of chasing them, you begin to detach from this endless need to be liked. And that's where real peace begins. There's a difference between apathy and indifference. Apathy says, "I don't care about anything." Indifference says, "I care deeply, but your opinion doesn't control me." The Stoics called this inner freedom. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." True strength is when your sense of self-worth no longer fluctuates based on someone else's perception. You still listen, you still learn, but you choose what enters your mind. You stop being a leaf blown by every breeze of judgment and become the tree that stands unmoved by the wind. Here's another truth few people talk about. When people judge you, they're revealing themselves, not you. Criticism is projection. It's someone's inner conflict spilled outward. The person who mocks your dreams is the one too afraid to chase their own. The person who calls you arrogant often feels inferior inside. Carl Jung called this the shadow, the dark, hidden part of ourselves that we reject and then project onto others. So the next time someone belittles you, don't take it personally. See it as a mirror. They're not showing you who you are. They're showing you what they refuse to face. That's the secret. People's opinions about you say far more about them than they ever will about you. Caring too much about what others think doesn't just waste your time, it kills your authenticity. You start shaping your personality like clay, molding it to please whoever's watching. But deep down, you know it's not you. You know that if people only love the mask, they don't love the person underneath it. And what's the point of being admired if it's not really you they admire? As the writer Jim Carrey once said, "Your need for acceptance can make you invisible in this world. You don't need to become someone likable, you need to become someone real." So, how do you stop caring what others think? Not by force, but by understanding. Step 1. Know your values. When you live by your values, external opinions lose power. If you know what you stand for, you don't need validation to stand there. Step 2. Embrace discomfort. You cannot grow without rejection. Every strong person you admire was criticized, mocked, or misunderstood. Learn to see discomfort as a test of authenticity. Step 3. Limit comparison. Comparison is the thief of joy. Social media fuels it, making everyone's life look perfect. But remember, people only post highlights, not the behind the scenes. You're comparing your reality to their illusion. Step 4. Practice solitude. Spend time alone. The more you sit with yourself, the more you realize how little you actually need others' approval to feel whole. Step 5. Detach from outcomes. When you act based on what feels right instead of what looks right, you become unstoppable. Here's the beautiful paradox. When you stop caring about what others think, people start respecting you more. Because confidence, real confidence, isn't about being louder or bolder. It's about being centered. People can sense when you're free. When you speak your truth calmly, without forcing anyone to agree, that's presence. That's authenticity. That's power. You stop chasing respect, and it begins to chase you. In the end, this isn't really about others. It's about coming home to yourself. Because beneath the opinions, the masks, the noise, there's a quiet voice that has always been yours. It doesn't need likes, followers, or applause. It only asks one thing, that you live in alignment with who you truly are. So let them judge, let them misunderstand, let them talk. You'll find peace not in their silence, but in yours. As the Buddha said, care about your inner world as much as others care about their outer one. When you no longer depend on approval, you become untouchable. You stop dancing to the music of other people's opinions and start composing your own. That's freedom. That's confidence. That's power. So the next time you feel that familiar fear, that voice saying, "What will they think?" Pause, breathe, and remind yourself, they're not thinking about you nearly as much as you think they are. Live truthfully, walk boldly, and remember, the world doesn't need another imitation. It needs someone brave enough to be real.